So let's talk for a moment or two about kids who bully. Kids who bully come from a very diverse population. They can come from any background, race, income level, family situation, gender, or religion. Could be your kid or my kid. Bullies do have common traits, though. They're quick to blame others for their problems. They lack empathy for others. They like to be in control, dominant, and powerful. They're poor winners and sore losers. Kids who bully typically are pretty good at hiding behaviors from adults and talking their way out of difficult situations. They may also have a history of violence and aggression or discipline problems. We need to talk for a moment about proactive versus reactive aggression. Kids who are proactively aggressive are cool, calculating, and thoughtful, and these are the kids that I think that we need to pay the most attention to, as opposed to kids who are reactive, where they're hot-headed, they get angry easily, and they're really not thinking through their actions. Most students who bully are proactively aggressive. That is, their aggression is aimed at obtaining a desired end or goal, such as being driven by victim dislike and a desire to impose humiliation and control, obtain material goods, or peer social status, or perhaps just as a response to peer pressure. Consequently, the bullying behavior is more frequently the product of calculation and reasoning, not anger and impulsivity. So how do you grow a bully? Well, there are a number of environmental influences that we need to consider. First of all, we have to look at family factors. Kids who bully, we find that they have a lack of adult supervision and limits at home. We also find that they have parents who are in complete denial about whether or not their child is bullying. No parent wants to believe that their child could be bullying. In families where kids are bullies, there's a lack of consistent consequences for bullying, or they have parents and siblings who also bully. School factors also are a variable. We have kids who are in classrooms where staff ignores bullying or minimizes it as a rite of passage, meaning bullying happens. We have staff who deny that bullying happens in their classrooms. Or we have schools where interpersonal skills are not fostered and encouraged. The peer group is also a variable involved in development of bullying. When you have a peer group that supports bullying behaviors, it's easier to behave that way. Kids may bully in order to fit in with others. They may also be afraid that if they don't participate, that they might be next. Finally, we have to consider individual factors in the development of bullying. Some bullies lack social and interpersonal skills. We also have to think about the prefrontal lobe of the brain not being fully developed, which kids really need to have in order to make good decisions. Bullies like to be in control. They also are unwilling to accept responsibility for their own actions, and they lack empathy and compassion for others. The following behaviors should alert you to the possibility that a child is engaged in bullying behaviors. They tease, threaten, and physically hurt others. Somehow they acquire new things without explanation or have lots of extra money. They like to communicate about others' flaws, or they brag about having power over another kid. Many times they'll bully siblings and parents at home. Kids who bully have a low frustration tolerance. They're impulsive and they dislike rules. They may demonstrate no sympathy toward children who are being bullied, or they're involved in other antisocial activities. We really need to be able to help kids who bully. So here's how we're going to get started. First of all, you need to assess the behaviors and the motivation of the kid who's bullying. There's really a need for careful assessment of the behavior and motivation of the child who bullies. You need to confirm that the behavior is bullying and not the result of some sort of a disability. Some bullies will need ongoing focused support, and they may require educational and social skills interventions. When you find out that your child has bullied, you need to say it out loud. This is bullying behavior, or this is mistreatment. Don't sugarcoat it. Talk with your child. Expect your child to deny their behavior or blame the victim in some way. However, anything less than full responsibility is not really acceptable. Some useful questions that you can ask are, what did you do? What made that an appropriate thing to do or an inappropriate thing to do? Who did you hurt? What were you trying to accomplish? The next time you're wanting that, how will you meet that goal without hurting someone else? How will you help the person that you hurt? So let's talk about supervision, reporting, and consequences. We need to teach our kids empathy, respect, and compassion for others. We also need to teach by example. So check your own behaviors. Do your kids see you gossiping? How do they see you behaving when you're having a problem with somebody else? Make your expectations clear. Involve educators if necessary for extra eyes, ears, and support. As a parent, you need to provide clear, consistent consequences for bullying. It's important to provide positive feedback to your child. Learning something new takes time and it can be difficult, so kids really need to hear when they're doing well. Be realistic with your expectations. Don't place too many changes on your child at once. And if you're really not sure what to do, seek some outside help. A different perspective can really give you some new ideas. We have to look at whether or not kids who are bullying are having trouble with skills or if their ego is just being bruised. Some kids who bully are really popular, well-liked, and become leaders within a portion of their peer groups. They exhibit some skillfulness and some high self-esteem. They tend to engage in aggressive behaviors when there are threats to their ego or their social status. In contrast, some kids who bully tend to show social deficits. They have a strong need to dominate other students and to get their own way. These kids are prone to be impulsive, inflexible, and easily angered. They're often defiant and aggressive toward adults, including teachers and parents, and they show little empathy toward victims. They have difficulty following rules and a low level for tolerating frustration. These kids might also evidence a decreasing interest in school, and of course the interventions that we need to have for them are a bit different for the kids who like themselves pretty much. There are some climate changes that also need to be put in place. It's important to increase your sense of connection to the school and your child's sense of connection to the school. Ask your child, if you were absent from school, who else besides your friends would notice your absence and would miss you? If they're really not able to tell you anybody, then you really need to work to shore up some of their connections to teachers at school. Also, you could ask them, is there an adult in your school to whom you could go to if you had a problem? And again, if not, then we need to help them to identify somebody. You also have to ask yourself, what kind of presence do you as a parent have in school? Do you volunteer at school? Do you talk to the teachers on a regular basis? Then there's restorative justice. And basically what this means is how can your child help to make things right? It's one thing to be sorry for your behaviors. It's another thing to set things straight. And that's really important when we're teaching kids about not bullying. If you're contacted by the school about a child who's bullied, keep an open mind. The largest obstacle to preventing bullying is the reaction of adults. Again, no one wants to believe that it's their child, but denial isn't helpful to anybody. 85% of kids engage in some bullying at some time or another during their childhood. If you're talking to a teacher, obtain the factual information. Make sure that you know as much about what happened as you possibly can. And remember that you're being contacted because you're in the best position to help your child. This is not about your parenting abilities or a judgment by school officials. You're in a special position to help your child, and it's also your responsibility.